The more people, the more complex the relationship. Let's get into it. Relationships in general can be more complex for those with complex dissociative disorders, both within the system as well as with those outside of the system. Each individual alter can have their own individual sexualities as well as types of relationships with those both in and outside of the system. Let's start with in-system relationships. Any type of relationship that can exist between two separate people can exist between two alters in a system. You can have family, friends, significant others, and even enemies. Though it is important to note that internal relationships may not fill the same social needs as relationships out here. It shouldn't necessarily be used as a replacement for human interaction, even if human interaction is scary. Some alters form as siblings. Sometimes twins may form to be something like opposite sides of the same coin, or to deal with similar roles or traumas. We also form triplets in this same way for a role that benefited from being done by three separate alters. Rachel and Lillian may have discussed this in their introduction, but they form to be opposites like this, forming together as twins to handle the same thing. Both managing fear, Rachel more being able to cope and manage despite experiencing it, and Lillian more a holder of it and more struggling to cope with it. But, of course, siblings in systems aren't required to have similar roles or to have formed from similar traumas. There are so many reasons why alters may form as siblings, and there doesn't even need to be a reason. It just depends on the system. Now discussing something that commonly pertains to littles. Many littles, and even sometimes middles, which are typically more of the teenaged alters, will have alters in the system who act like parental figures to them. And of course, each of these relationships can be different. Some of them being more like a biological parent-child relationship, while others are more like a, say, babysitter. Someone who takes care of them but is not attached to them in that biological type way. But of course, not all younger alters will have a parental figure, and even more adult-aged alters may benefit from having a parental figure themselves, or simply have one. Then you have significant others in systems, because yes, alters can date one another. I personally have a girlfriend in the system myself. Alters can also be married to each other, though obviously not in any sort of official way. But I think it is also important to note that just because alters are in a relationship doesn't mean that it has to be a healthy one. For instance, we had two alters that formed as a married couple who were interjects of a toxic dynamic instead of the individuals involved. They had a really unhealthy relationship dynamic as part of their role as persecutors in our system, which it took a significant amount of healing our trauma for that relationship to heal. Just because alters are in a relationship does not mean that that relationship has to be healthy in any way. Which leads me into talking about enemies. Because, yes, alters can absolutely hate one another. They may, like in the case of some persecutors, actively harm other members of the system. They may hate specific alters for a specific reason, hate all alters for a specific reason, or simply lash out at all of those around them as a maladaptive response to trauma. It is still important to come to some level of understanding these alters in the process of healing from trauma, which of course can be really hard if it seems like all they do is try and make your life hell. But building some form of relationship between alters is important to any path that you take to healing from the disorder. So, what about relationships outside the system? Some systems may choose to have relationships that fit under what we've seen sometimes referred to as internal polyamory, where multiple alters in the system date a single person out here. Alters may also individually be a form of polyamorous through dating another alter as well as someone out here. And just as alters may have different relationships with each other, they may be looking for different types of relationships with people out here. Littles may be looking for more like parental figures. Some alters may be looking for romantic relationships. Some may be looking for friends, and some may not be looking for relationships at all. This may make building a relationship for a system more complex, as what they are looking for out of a relationship may change depending on who is fronting. Of course, being made more complex by alters being able to have different sexualities and wanting different relationships with different people. Potentially also having different memories related to the specific person that may color this. But no matter the type of relationship, the most important thing will always be communication. If you are thinking of some form of internal polyamory, is that okay with your partner? Is it okay with your alters? What are everyone's boundaries? When forming relationships out here, what are each individual alter's boundaries and how can they be communicated? If your alters are interested in dating different people, how can you come to a compromise? Are you open to dating multiple people out here to fulfill those needs? How would those relationships work based on who is fronting? Things like these should be communicated so that everyone feels respected in any relationship that you do have. But I think that is it for my ramble about relationships. If you have any questions or want to discuss your relationships or tips for maintaining healthy relationships as a system, feel free to leave those in the comments down below. We also have a Discord server linked in our description if you'd like to come and chat with us there. We will also be linking our Twitch in our description if you want to check it out. I think we decided we are going to start streaming there next weekend. Speaking of lives, we are going to go live on YouTube later today playing Genshin to celebrate hitting our first 100 subscriber milestone. We would love to see you all there. It would also be great if you liked the video if you liked it and subscribe to see more content like this. If you want to learn more about the complexities of identity when you have a complex dissociative disorder, you can check out our video up here. Or if you want to learn more about complex dissociative disorders in general, you can check out our playlist down here. I hope you're having a great day, and we'll see you in the next one.